The night my own son turned me away was the same night my life changed forever. At 62 years old, I sat alone in the driver's seat of my old Honda, staring through a rain-covered windshield and wondering where I would sleep. Less than 3 months earlier, I had owned a successful construction company that I spent 35 years building with my own hands. I had employees who depended on me, clients who respected me, and a home filled with memories. Then everything collapsed. A lawsuit destroyed my business. The bank took my house. My savings disappeared trying to keep everything alive. One by one, the things I spent a lifetime building vanished until all I had left was a suitcase, a few dollars, and the hope that my son would help me through the worst moment of my life. His name was Jason Hayes. I remember standing on his front porch that afternoon, exhausted from weeks of stress. Jason lived in a beautiful suburban neighborhood with his wife, Kimberly. Their house looked like something from a magazine. Perfect lawn, expensive cars, fresh flowers near the entrance. For a moment I felt relieved. I told myself everything would be okay. Family takes care of family. At least that is what I believed. Jason opened the door and forced a smile. Before he could say much, Kimberly appeared beside him. The look on her face told me everything before a single word was spoken. I explained my situation and asked if I could stay for a few days while I figured things out. The silence felt endless. Finally, Kimberly crossed her arms. She said they had a lot going on right now. She said guests were expected soon. She said it was simply not a good time. I looked at my son, waiting for him to speak. Waiting for him to say his father could sleep on the couch. Waiting for him to remind his wife that I was family. Instead, he suggested a motel. The words hit harder than losing my business. I stood there staring at the boy I had raised, remembering baseball games, school graduations, and long nights working overtime to pay his college tuition. Now he could not offer me a place to sleep. I nodded, thanked them, and walked away before they could see the tears forming in my eyes. That night, every motel in town was full. By midnight, I was parked behind a 24-hour diner trying to sleep inside my car. I barely slept. Every passing headlight woke me up. Every hour felt longer than the last. Around 9 the next morning, my phone rang. The number was unfamiliar. Normally, I would have ignored it, but desperate people answer every call. A calm voice introduced himself as Sebastian Reed. He explained that he worked for billionaire Charles Whitmore. The name meant nothing to me. Then he said something that instantly got my attention. Mr. Whitmore wishes to meet you personally and is prepared to compensate you $500 for your time. $500. At that moment, it felt like a fortune. The next morning, I drove to an estate so massive it looked more like a private resort than a home. The gates alone were larger than most houses I had built during my career. Inside, everything reflected unimaginable wealth. Paintings lined the walls. Marble floors stretched in every direction. Staff members moved quietly through the halls. Sebastian escorted me into a private study where an elderly man sat beside a large window overlooking acres of land. This was Charles Whitmore. Despite his wealth, he looked fragile, thin, pale, dying, yet his eyes were sharp and focused. He studied me for several moments before speaking. Robert Hayes, do you remember a rainy night 8 years ago? The question instantly transported me back in time. A violent storm, a dangerous highway curve, a luxury sedan crashing through a guardrail and plunging into a flooded creek. I remembered climbing down a muddy embankment. I remembered smashing a window. I remembered pulling an unconscious man from a sinking car while freezing water rushed around us. Charles smiled. That man was me. My heart nearly stopped. For years I had assumed the driver survived and moved on with his life. I never expected to see him again. Charles explained that I had saved his life that night. More importantly, he said I had given him a second chance. While recovering from the accident, he changed everything. He fixed mistakes in his business, repaired damaged relationships, built a company worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Then he looked directly into my eyes and delivered words that changed my future forever. I am dying, Robert, and when I am gone, everything I own belongs to you. For several seconds I could not speak. I thought I had misunderstood. But Charles repeated himself. His fortune, his businesses, his properties, everything, all because one stranger chose kindness when everyone else kept driving.